Hi everyone, thanks for visiting my channel. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Carol and I'm so glad that you stopped by. I hope you will consider subscribing. So today I have a little canning video for you. I am doing a little bit of freezer clean out. So there are some things that I need to use up, and one of them is this giant bag of blueberries. These are wild blueberries. I get them from Costco. They are fantastic. And so I got to thinking maybe we should make some blueberry sauce. Fruit sauces are wonderful to have in your pantry. They're fantastic for spreading over pancakes or waffles, for adding to yogurt or oatmeal. They're also great to make desserts with. You can spread it over top of a lovely cheesecake or on top of cake. Just lots of great ways to use them. They also make fantastic gifts. So we're going to use up these delicious frozen blueberries to make some blueberry sauce today. Now, you can use fresh or frozen blueberries. Fresh blueberries are fantastic to use as well. Blueberries are not really on sale where I live. Plus, I wanted to clean out my freezer. So I'm going to be using frozen ones, but you can totally use fresh if they are in season where you live. That would be fantastic. Mine are wild blueberries, so they're kind of on the smaller side. But regular blueberries are fine as well. Now, if you've hung around my channel very much, you know that I like to put a little bit of a Carol twist on things. So I am going to add a little something extra to mine. I'm going to be adding this Moscato blueberry wine. I'm going to use this in place of the water that is called for in the recipe. One of the reasons I'm doing this is because my sisters and I are, for the first time ever, taking a sister trip, and we've rented a house up in Michigan in the next month to go and spend some time together. Anyway, we love waffles, and I have one sister that particularly loves blueberries. So I'm going to be making homemade waffles to take for us for breakfast, and I'm also going to take this blueberry sauce for them. I know they're going to love it. We all enjoy drinking Moscato when we get together, so I'm going to add a little Moscato to our blueberry sauce that we're going to be using on our waffles. So I wanted to make it a little bit extra. That's why I'm adding the wine. You can totally skip the wine. Just use water instead. So anyway, that was my thought process for that. Now, this recipe comes from the Canning Kitchen Cookbook. I've talked about this book before. This is a really nice canning book to have in your arsenal if you don't have it already. It's all water bath recipes, and she's got some really great combinations and easy things to can. So if you're new to canning, this is a great book to have. I really like this recipe for blueberry sauce because it's very simple. It's just blueberries, sugar, water, a pinch of salt, and some vanilla extract. So there's nothing, no extra ingredients that you wouldn't want in your sauce, or really no ingredients that you wouldn't have on hand. So this is super easy. But I do want to note that in the Ball Complete Book of Home Preserving, in this book, there is also a recipe for blueberry sauce. The reason why I didn't go with the one in the Ball book is because it calls for things that I didn't really want in my blueberry sauce, but it would be delicious. They use apple juice instead of water. They are using some lemon juice and some lemon zest and corn syrup. That really wasn't the vibe I was going for, but just as an FYI, if you're looking for another blueberry sauce that has some other things added to it, you might want to give that one a look as well. So this is really easy stuff here. All we have to do is add basically all of your ingredients, with the exception of the extract, into a large saucepan. So we're just going to bring it up just to a boil over high heat. We're going to reduce the heat to medium and continue boiling gently for about 15 minutes. You want to make sure you stir it frequently so that nothing scorches or burns. She does make the note that we want to cook the sauce long enough to allow it to darken a lot and thicken a little. The note in both the Ball book and in her notes, they both state that the blueberry sauce will be thin when you can it, and it thickens as it stands on your canning shelf. So just be aware of that. It's going to be kind of thin when we can it up, but it will thicken as it stands. So I'm going to bring you in close, and we're going to get started. Okay guys, here we go. Really easy stuff here. I have 12 cups of frozen blueberries. You can defrost them first if you want to. I didn't defrost them. I don't see any need to do that. I'm going to turn my heat on a medium-high heat. We are going to add 2.5 cups of our blueberry wine. If you don't groove on the wine, just do 2.5 cups of water. You could also use another fruit juice if you prefer. We're going to add 3 cups of sugar and just a little pinch of salt, 1/4 teaspoon. I'm gonna give that a stir. We're gonna bring it to a boil, reduce our heat to about a medium, and then we're gonna let it boil gently for 15 minutes. While all that's happening, I'm gonna get my canner and my jars ready. So simple. Okay guys, we have a nice gentle boil going on here, so you just want to make sure that you are stirring it fairly frequently. Like I said, you don't want anything to scorch or burn, and just let it boil gently for about 15 minutes. We want it to start to thicken just a little bit. It's not, like I said before, it's not going to be really thick. It will thicken as it stands on your shelf. So we just want it to thicken a little bit of evaporation to happen and some concentration of flavor. And while that's happening, I'm gonna get my canner and my jars going, and we'll be all set for canning this up. Okay guys, my sauce has been gently bubbling for about 15 minutes. Like I said, there's not going to be a huge change in thickness. It will thicken slightly. But 15 minutes is about all you need to make sure that it's nice and hot, a little bit of evaporation and concentration happening. So we're going to turn off our heat. We're going to give it another stir. And then we're going to add about a teaspoon of vanilla extract. Pure vanilla extract, if you please. I probably add a little bit extra. A little bit more than a teaspoon, but the recipe calls for a teaspoon, and I have to tell you that Moscato, the blueberry Moscato, is absolutely divine in here. I highly encourage you to give it a try. Okay, so you can either water bath or steam can this. If you've hung around my channel, you know I love steam canning. So I have my rack and my steam canner, and I have 3 quarts of simmering water in there waiting for me. Those are the instructions for my canner. If you are using a water bath canner, you want to make sure you have enough water in your canner that it will cover your jars by about 1 inch once you put your jars in there. And you want your water to be near simmering as well. You can can this in pints, or you can can this in half pints. The time is going to be the same. I'm going to be canning it in pints. Okay, we are starting with 2 hot jars. I'm using these really pretty flute jars by Ball. I think that the sauce is going to look beautiful in here. Make sure you start with hot jars because we are putting very hot liquid into our hot jars, and we don't want any thermal shock to happen. So we're going to carefully ladle in our blueberry sauce to 1/4 inch headspace. Okay, once you've reached your 1/4 inch headspace, you're going to take a debubbling tool, chopstick, or plastic butter knife to release any air bubbles. And then we're going to take a paper towel dipped in white vinegar. Make sure you clean your rims really well. We don't want anything to interfere with a good seal. We're going to add our lids and then our bands to fingertip tight. Okay guys, that should give you about 4 pints or 8 half-pint jars if you're using the half-pint jars. And I had a little bit extra left over, but you should get around 4 pints. So we're gonna go ahead and put the lid on our canner. We're gonna crank our heat up to high. Just a note, so something we've learned through experience, make sure you measure your head space fairly carefully. We've learned that siphoning can happen, especially when you're dealing with a hot sugar syrup base, when you're canning fruits, or in this case the sauce. Anything with hot syrup in it can tend to siphon a little bit, so measuring your headspace correctly is really important. So even though our headspace is just 1/4 inch, you might want to go just a little bit more than that, just to make sure you're giving yourself plenty of space so we have less of a risk of siphoning happening. So anyway, we're going to turn our canner up to high. When my gauge is in the green zone, I can start my processing time. If you are water bath canning, you want to make sure you are at a full rolling boil before you start your processing time. We're going to process for 15 minutes, and then I'll bring you back and show you this delicious sauce. Okay guys, we are all done with processing. I processed for 15 minutes, just like I told you, and I let my jars set for about 5. So they've been sitting in my canner for about 5. So there you go. I know it's hard to see the blueberries because it's so dark, but really pretty. And so tasty. I really, really love the blueberry Moscato in there. Really delicious. So I hope you'll give that little twist a try. But like I said, you can always just use water, or you could use fruit juice of some sort. The apple juice that Ball suggested would be fine. If you could find blueberry juice, even better. So lots of options there. Anyway, I enjoy you coming along with me today. Just know blueberries are pretty high in pectin naturally, so your sauce will set as it sits on the shelf. So no worries about that. If it starts out a little runnier than you would like, it will set up. I hope you enjoyed coming along with me today. If you have any comments or questions, leave them for me in the comment section. I will leave a link in the description box for both of the canning books that I shared, and I will also leave you a link for delicious Belgian waffles. I do have a video on those, and they would be fantastic with this on top. Also, we have Memorial Day weekend coming up here very shortly. This sauce would be delicious poured over an angel food cake. Very festive, very fun, really delicious and pretty. So I hope you'll give that some consideration as well. Have a great day, guys, and I will see you next time.